What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. So I've been noticing the past couple of videos now since I've had the issue in the microphone. The audio has been very bad. It has been bad. No one's been saying it, but I think deep down you are thinking about it as well. I've managed to find a way to incorporate the good mic with the camera again, and I've toggled around with the filters just so that it sounds better. So I'm hoping that my videos are just going to go that one extra step up in the quality now that I think that I've got the audio sorted to a T. I've not edited it yet, and that will give me the full verdict whether it has recovered, but I'm keeping everything crossed that it sounds crystal clear today. So today we are doing more championship score predictions because we've got our second batch of midweek championship games that we're going to predict, and I'm not going to pull a sickie this time. I'm going to be here predicting all 12 games, and I encourage you guys to also predict the 12 games in the comments down below, because that way you'll score points for the Lexalexus Football Prediction League. I will post an update on that after this set of championship games. There's always quite a lot to do when you've got so many games in a very quick turnaround, but ultimately I am keeping on top of it and I will keep you guys posted. If you do go to enjoy the video, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. It really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please also share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do and they really help. But without any further ado, let's start predicting for the midweek games for the championship. So the first game we're predicting is Cardiff-Portsmouth. Both of these sides picked up a crucial win in their games. I mean, this weekend was the weekend of first. We saw Sheffield United lose their first game of the season, which I'll talk about in a minute. But we also saw Portsmouth pick up their first win of the season. And both of these sides will be wanting to go into this game with back-to-back wins, and I think whoever wins this game will actually go out of the bottom three, and for Cardiff's case, they'll be out the bottom three for the first time this season. So this is a huge game for both of them. Cardiff swept Plymouth aside by 5-0. Ultimately, in context, Plymouth were down to 10 men for a good half of that game, but even 11 versus 11, Cardiff were 2-0 up. So Cardiff did look like that they were cruising a little bit, and the 5-0 just only comprehended their brilliant performance in the 11 versus 10 circumstance. Portsmouth got their result against fellow strugglers QPR, which actually sent them to the bottom of the championship, would you believe it? But Portsmouth managed to hold out for a win, an away win actually, which could be quite crucial going near to the end of the season as well. Both sides were not perfect in their ways. Both sides actually made mistakes in crucial moments. So certainly not the finished product for Portsmouth, but the fact they got the win over the line is going to be very crucial here. As a prediction, I've got a little bit more confidence with Cardiff, with the performance and the fact that they've got home advantage. So for me, I'm going to predict a 2-1 victory to Cardiff, but honestly, Portsmouth could get a result, of course. They really can offer something going forward, but I just have a bit more confidence with Cardiff on their form at the moment. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now to what I think will be an interesting encounter, Leeds going up against Watford. Two contrasting results from both of these sides in their weekend games. Leeds had the first game of the weekend and really big pressure to go against the only unbeaten side in the championship, but ultimately they performed out of this game, which I did anticipate. I felt that Leeds were going to rise to the big occasion, and I think they would have looked at this game as a really big opportunity to try and mix it within the top six, and they more than delivered. They actually restricted an unbeaten side, Sheffield United, to no shots on target, believe it or not. And it ended by 2-0, which ultimately, I do think the scoreline did reflect their confidence and how comfortable they were for most of the game. I'm really pleased for Mateo Joseph that he got his goal. He's been someone which I've noticed has been in sort of that crop of really promising players with a lot of expectations who's just been struggling with it. So I'm really pleased for him that he managed to get a goal, and that should hopefully lift up his confidence. Watford certainly need to respond from their horror show at the M3 derby against Luton Town. It ended 3-0 against them, and whilst they probably had a okay spell within the second half, when Luton got that early second half goal, I think it really made things difficult for Watford, and they had too much of a battle to overcome. And in this game here, I think Leeds are certainly proving to get into their groove now. They're starting to dictate play a lot more. They're looking a bit more confident going forward. As a prediction, however, I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Leeds, but Watford could offer something. We've seen Watford shock us before. But personally, I think the safe bet is going to predict the Leeds to win back-to-back games. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leeds win. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up is the battle of the newly promoted sides. We've got Oxford going up against Derby, which I've got to say, both of them have climatised this promotion to the Championship quite well. Significantly better, especially from Oxford's point of view, than what I expected. Oxford, I don't think will be spoken out enough because they did not win in their game. But I'd say they got up there for one of the results of the weekend for managing to limit West Brom to a draw. I think just in comparison to the expectations at the start of the season, for Oxford to pick up a point against West Brom, they would have taken their hands off to get a result like that. And certainly for the most of that game, it was West Brom's game. And actually West Brom will be really kicking themselves with the missed chances that they had in those games. Oxford did grow into it second half, and ultimately they gave the warning signs to West Brom that they needed to score more than one goal. They didn't. A long throw-in comes in stoppage time, and then who pops up? Dane Scarlett to nod the ball home. And this never-say-die attitude is what has really made Oxford's season in the Championship so special so far. Whether it will result in a playoff place, I think is unlikely. I think it's going to be very competitive in that stage of the table, but certainly, if Oxford get a couple of years in the Championship, that's going to do the club a whole lot of good. And Derby as well have actually done so much better than what I thought as well, with them being a newly promoted side too. They managed to get their first away point of the season, and they did actually take the lead against Millwall with Jerry Yates getting the goal, but Ivanovic equalising the final 5 minutes of normal time limited Derby from getting their first win away from home. But again, really encouraging signs for both. But what I'll say here, Derby has still not won a game away from home. Oxford at home have been sensational, as we saw against West Brom. They also managed to limit Burnley to a draw as well. Oxford are proving to be a very difficult side to get a result at their place, and I think that's going to continue here. And I actually think, whilst Oxford are a bit of a winless run at the moment, I think this will be the game where they get a good result, because they've had really tough games recently, Oxford, which is why they've not been having wins recently. As a prediction, I think it's going to be a 3-1 victory to Oxford. Maybe I'm being a bit over generous to Oxford, but I'm really keeping tuned to the fact that at home, Oxford are proving to be a really, really good side. And Derby away from home, I'm still yet to be convinced whether they're going to be a good away outfit. So I'm going to go 3-1 Oxford. Why not? I'll give them a bit of credit. Let me know what you think, however, in the comments down below. Next up is Preston going up against Norwich City. Contrasting results for both in their last weekend games, but Preston have been doing pretty well, especially at Deepdale actually. They're starting to get some clean sheets, they're accruing some points on the board, and they're getting further and further away from the danger of the relegation zone. So Preston are doing the right things in the moment. They're slowly but surely chugging away. And this is actually going to be a tough period for Northend because they do not have Osmajic. He's currently serving his 8-game ban. So Reece Jacobson needs to step up. And what does he do against Coventry? He gets the only goal in the game. So I was really pleased for Reece Jacobson because this season, or especially the start of the season, he wasn't showing that same sort of killer instinct he would have in front of goal. So I'm really pleased that he got his goal. Maybe that will spur his confidence and he can go on a good run here. Norwich have been a bit of a peculiar side. They've looked really, really good at home. Away from home, they've been a bit touch and go. They've either been on it and have been able to get the job done, or they've just been a little bit below par and have not been able to get the result. And that was what they had last time against Stoke City, where they took the lead just before half-time, and you think, crucial goal, they'll go to half-time, winning the game and potentially holding on. But Manu from Stoke manages to get a sneaky equaliser just before half-time, and it surprised me that Norwich didn't get anything from that. Obviously, it was Pelagic going up against his former club, of course, so it was probably an interesting encounter in that part. But I did expect Norwich with the attacking talent that they got to get a result from it. So maybe they could go and look at this game as a good chance of redemption. But looking at this game for me, I don't see many goals. I think Preston will still go about their way like they did against Coventry, being quite defensive, but obviously, you know, with the aim to keep a clean sheet, but also making sure that they do end up with 3 points. But it's a question whether Norwich can break it down, and I do think Norwich have the capabilities for it. As a prediction, I think it's going to be a 1 goal, but I'm still a bit undecided where to swing it to. I'm going to go for an away win for Norwich. I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory, which will match last season's one. And I do think the game might be a little bit of a similar tone. So I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to Norwich. But honestly, it could go either way. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up is Sheffield Wednesday against Swansea. I've certainly picked a good colour for Sheffield Wednesday over there. I mean, that was a great choice for me, wasn't it? So both of these sides will be wanting a better result from what they did get from their last weekend out. So Sheffield Wednesday lost out against Burnley by 2-0, which a game statistically with shot creating and the actual chances, it looked a little bit close, but Burnley outdid them with the possession and the passes in the opposition box, and ultimately because of that they were able to get a little bit more of a frequent opening to get an opportunity, and therefore they did manage to get the result that they were craving for in the end. So in terms of Swansea's point of view, they managed to lose out against Blackburn Rovers, which when Blackburn did score, Swansea did rally forward. They really wanted to get something out of this game, but Blackburn defended for their lives and they managed to do so successfully. Now, that's my danger here. If Sheffield Wednesday score first, is it going to be the same situation where Swansea huff and puff trying to get a goal and they just cannot get it out of it? Because we've seen it a couple of times, but Swansea have struggled to do that. I think of Middlesbrough, actually, first game of the season, where that exact thing happened, where Swansea did look better on the ball. Middlesbrough get a goal from nothing, and then Swansea build, you know, their confidence up to try and get it to a goal, but they don't do so. So maybe it's just trying to chase the game that's been letting Swansea down a bit. With Sheffield Wednesday, they certainly need a response, because that Hillsborough showing against Burnley was not good enough, sadly, for them. So I think here they will get something, but whether it's going to be 3 points, I'm a bit undecided. As a prediction, I could see Swansea actually taking the lead, but I think Sheffield Wednesday could find a way to get back to this. And I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, actually. The results at Hillsborough have either been right at high to the top, that 3-2 victory against unbeaten West Brom, or down to the bottom with that 2-0 defeat, of course, just recently against Burnley. So I'm going to go for a result in between and go for a 1-1 draw. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up is Stoke versus Bristol City. Both sides probably picking up a result that they did not expect actually in this weekend, or at least probably weren't back to do so. Stoke managed to get a home point against Norwich, and actually it was a performance where maybe the chance kind of fell from nowhere. But the fact they defended that draw against Norwich, which they did rally forward to try and get a result, there's some really encouraging signs from Nicolas Palaci's side. I'm definitely seeing a sense of improvement in that side. Certainly needs to pick up more wins and certainly a little bit more of a frequent occurrence, because the bottom three, you know, we saw with Cardiff and Portsmouth winning last weekend. I think the competitiveness in that region of the table is just going to really heat up. And we're seeing it now with Coventry and QPR, which I'll preview in a minute. If you go through a streak of not winning games, you're going to be dragged into some serious danger here. And Stoke could easily be one of those sides if they do not get a grip and they do start winning those games finally. With Bristol City, they picked up an amazing result against Middlesbrough, a 2-0 away victory at the Riverside Stadium just before half-time as well. They really had this game wrapped up, and actually, whilst Middlesbrough did push second half, Bristol City were resilient. They really were determined to get a result, and I was really pleased for Bristol City that they had this result, because they've been a little bit flaky. They've been quite unpredictable to predict, you know, as I saw, because I incorrectly predicted them for that game and they really proved me wrong. Here, however, it's hard to say, because I could see both of them having really similar strengths and similar weaknesses within when they hold the ball. Prediction, I'm wondering if that extra fire in Bristol City's belly is going to get them the extra edge in this game. I'm going to say 2-1 Bristol City, but honestly, it could be 2-1 Stoke. It could really flip either way. It's that close, but just got a little bit of a gut feeling about the away side in this one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Well, would you look at that? I just spoke about QPR and Coventry. They are the next two teams I'm going to predict a score for. So this is a big game. QPR are now bottom of the championship for the first time this season with 4 consecutive defeats. It is not a good showing for QPR, but they're also playing a side who's not picked up many points. And in fact, both QPR and Coventry have actually picked up the less points in the last 6 appearances in the championship. Coventry have only picked up 3 points from their 1-3-0 victory, which came out of nowhere in a way, against Blackburn Rovers, which gave them subject to their first defeat of the season. And that was actually their last midweek game. So potentially, could there be a bit of a midweek fortune with Coventry forming? Maybe I'm looking a bit too much into it. QPR, on the other hand, they really need to pick themselves up to be bottom of the championship, considering the expectations they put on themselves this season. I just don't know what's going wrong. They're just prone to mistakes. They're just not looking their fluid selves so far this season. And the same could be for Coventry. High expectations, not looking fluid. And certainly some frustrations going around the fans and the players for both sides, really. So it is certainly a heated game. And it could be the case that if one of them wins, it will really put the other manager for the opposing losing side under a lot of pressure. Prediction here. Oh my gosh, I don't think I'm brave enough to predict any of them to win, to be honest, because neither have really been able to find wins at the moment. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this game. QPR have not won at home yet. Coventry have not won away from home. So naturally, I'm going to continue that streak and I'm going to go for a draw. Let me know what you think, however, in the comments down below. We've made it to Wednesday's game. So let's go with Blackburn West Brom first. I am very excited for this one. Blackburn got back to winning ways, winning at home, which is just what they seem to do best this season. Got that early goal against Swansea, certainly defended for their lives, but they really did get some confidence in that game to see the game through, keep that clean sheet. 3 points on the board. It really puts them back on track to be competitive and within the mix of the top 6 as well. It's a brilliant result. And actually, West Brom also within that mix. You know, this is a very important game for both because if any of them get a good result here, it actually puts them a bit of an advantage against the other fellow top 6 sides. West Brom, of course, was subject to only a draw in the end against Oxford, where in that game, they had the chances, West Brom, to increase their lead when they did go 1-0 up in the way that they did. So I'm certainly looking at an attacking wave that actually with the style of their play, they are creating the chances. They're just not being clinical when they need to. So could this come back to bite them there? I'm either seeing one of 2 results. I mean, I've got to be honest. I don't think Blackburn will win this one. I think West Brom are strong enough to prevent Blackburn doing what they did against Swansea, because I actually think, you know, whilst Swansea are a decent side, I think West Brom are a much stronger attacking side, and I think they'll certainly get something from this game. But as a prediction, however, I'm actually going to go for a draw, a 1-1 draw in this one. West Brom currently on a winless run of 4 games, so they're not really giving me that impetus that they're going to win games willy-nilly. And Blackburn, with how good they've been at home, I think they can get a result. So I'm going to go 1-1. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Next up is Hull versus Burnley. So an interesting encounter here, both with different results. Hull were involved in the game that happened yesterday against Sunderland. Wasn't the best of games, very little to report on, but it was Hull that lost out by 1-0 against Sunderland. A bit of controversy, I would arguably say, for the build-up of that goal, but they do all count in the end, and maybe Hull do have a reason to feel annoyed with the goal going in, and a draw would have been a decent result against, you know, the then league leaders Sunderland. So they will be certainly wanting to try and right the wrongs that they had in that game for this one here. But Burnley, they went back to winning ways, beating Sheffield Wednesday by 2-0, and certainly it was a game where it certainly wasn't a convincing performance where they blew the side away, but they were very deadly in their attacking point of view. And I think this is going to be the same thing here. Whilst I do think Hull will make it quite awkward for Burnley to try and play out the way that they do, I think it's going to end up with Burnley eventually catching them on the break, and then it'll be just damage limitation for Hull. And I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to Burnley. I can see a counter-attacking goal going for Burnley's way. And I can see Hull potentially defending it just to make sure that their score goal difference doesn't get any worse. So I'm going 1-0 Burnley. Let me know what you think in the comments. Next up, we've got Luton Sunderland. Now this, I actually think is very difficult. If this was a game I would have predicted a couple of weeks ago, I would have said an easy Sunderland win. But Luton turned up in the M3 derby against Watford with a 3-0 victory. It was certainly a game where they did have some of their key members back. Carlton Morris especially making an important impact on his return to Luton Town. And actually Jacob Brown, I'm really pleased for him that he got his goal there as well, just to give him that extra bit of bounce as well. Luton certainly not in the position they want to be in the Championship currently, but that win could potentially be a turning point here. And this game, I think, will determine whether if Luton can compete with the best. Because I think Sunderland have been, on the whole, one of the statistically the best sides in the Championship so far. I mean, their league position proves our point. They're currently first place currently within the Championship. They've been remarkably consistent. But I can see Luton posing some threats. If they can go strong like they did against Watford, I think it will really put Sunderland to the test. And as a prediction, I am so tempted for a draw. But I'm actually going to say, I mean, this would going to really put the pressure on Rob Evans if he loses. But I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland. I'm just a little bit more confident with the fact that they just have this never say die attitude. They seem to always find a way around these really awkward and tight games. And I think this is going to be another one of those. But whilst I think it's going to be very close, I think it's going to be Sunderland that will edge through. But let me know what you think in the comments. The penultimate game for the midweek games is Millwall Plymouth. Both sides just above the relegation zone currently. So if either one of them wins, they will really push themselves away. Whilst for the other one, it then drags them in, especially with the fact that we have got these really tight battles, the Coventry and QPRs, for instance, and we've got the Cardiff Portsmouths playing as well. It could naturally mean that we'll see a lot of movement in that section of the table in this midweek encounter here. Millwall got a draw against Derby. They managed to get it in the final couple of minutes of normal time with a draw. Plymouth had a weekend to forget, a 5-0 defeat away from home against Cardiff. Obviously, they were down to 10 men, and it's always tough to go 11 versus 10, but they were 2 goals down to the good when it was 11 versus 11. So, the warning signs were there, but it was going to be a bad one. And Plymouth certainly have shown at home they can compete, but away from home, they've not shown that to me yet. Millwall as a whole have been very inconsistent. So, whilst I do see one pretty below par performance, you do naturally see an improvement or an improved performance in a way for Millwall's form so far this season. It's been very patchy. So I think here, this is going to be one of those situations where they don't perform their best against Derby, but then they'll perform a lot better here. And I do feel a bit bad for Plymouth, but honestly, I just have a lot more confidence with Millwall at the moment. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-0 victory to Millwall. But if Plymouth get a result, I'll take my hat off to them, because ultimately that will really put them in a privileged position, and it'll really push Millwall amongst the relegation midst, as it were, regarding the Championship so far this season. So I'm going to go 2-0 Millwall, but let me know what you think in the comments. Lastly, we've got a pretty big game actually to conclude the midweek. We've got Middlesbrough going up against Sheffield United. Both sides going into this game with a defeat, so both will be wanting to try and rectify that. Both actually losing by 2-0 as well. So Middlesbrough lost at home to Bristol City. I can't really even explain that performance. They had so many shots in that game, but they were so wasteful, as they were for many of their games so far this season. But we haven't really seen it at home. This is the first time we've really seen it at home. So a bit shocking for Middlesbrough's part there. Sheffield United didn't even register a shot on target against Leeds United, but certainly it was proven that Leeds were just too good on the day. And I think this one here, I think Sheffield United can certainly approach this one a little bit smarter in their way. I think, again, they've got really good options out wide as well. I think their attacking options are very scary when they can find the space. And ultimately here, I think this will be a game where Sheffield United had a little bit more of the ball here this time. And as a prediction, oh my gosh, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends level and 0-0. But you know what? I'm going to be a little bit brave for this one. I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win to Sheffield United. I think this will be a statement win for Chris Wilder's side, going up against his former club as well. So I think that's going to be a very interesting encounter. But I do think the squads as they look with 11 versus 11, I think it's going to be Sheffield United that have the slight edge. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. So guys, I think that wraps it up for today, and honestly, I'm really proud of myself because I've actually opened this video or recorded it not too late at night, so probably sound a little bit more perkier than normal, and ultimately, I'm going to have much more of a blast editing this because I think the audio is improved as well. So happy vibes all round. If you guys enjoyed the video, please smash the like button. It really does help the growth of this channel. Please do hit the subscribe button too, and please, feel free to share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do. They really do help. Please also let me know of your predictions and your thoughts of the current championship season in the comments down below. I'll be very interested to read them. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for joining this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.